Hello and welcome to this episode. We're turning our attention to a growing challenge in Atlantic Africa, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, or known as IUU. This silent crisis is depleting marine resources, threatening livelihoods, and undermining regional stability. And today, we're honored to be joined by Cabral, Deputy Coordinator at the Atlantic Center, a key institution working to foster cooperation and maritime security across the Atlantic space. Today, I'm happy to be joined by you, Dr. Luis. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
No, thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much again to the Policy Center to again invite the Atlantic Center to participate in their activities. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can you please introduce this phenomenon that is not very much spoken about, illegal, unreported, and unregulated?
Yeah, this is a phenomenon, but serious phenomenon for the Atlantic. But so. For us to understand a little bit why the Atlantic Center is here. So the Atlantic Center is a Portuguese-led initiative that adopts a broad concept of security and an all-of-Atlantic approach. And with this, it promotes an Atlantic community of interest, where we foster the political dialogue, the knowledge development, and the capacity building. So, and we work now with 27 countries all over the Atlantic. And a given moment, we started looking what was important for our members to discuss. And we understood that they wanted to shift a little bit the attention from piracy to IUU fishing was a common theme to all the Atlantic. So in 2023, after this decision took by the members, we decided to explore this theme. So the Atlantic Center works on a 3 key activity annual cycle. So at the end of 2022, we launch a team for the member states. If it is approved, normally we present this team in an international conference. In 2023, was in the plenary session of the G7++ in Dakar. Where we had a roundtable dedicated to the theme of IUU fishing in the Atlantic. And from there, we collect, the first thing that we do is we invite the member states to identify researchers for a research project, normally between 9 to 10 researchers. So the Policy Center nominated 2 research for this research project. And the second step is the maritime security course. So it will be always on the same theme that the research project, where some of the researchers will be invited at the end of May to present the first fact findings of the research they are promoting. And then the end of the cycle is end of October, always around the 30th of October, where we present the results of the research project and we launch the report of the Atlantic Center, like we did last year. So, and this is interesting because when we adopt this broad concept of security that goes from art security to human security, right? Passing by for food security, we understood that the local communities, mainly on the Gulf of Guinea, also South America, actually suffered a lot of the phenomena. And this phenomenon has different threads that we can look into it. So there's actually the artisanal fishermen. Then there's the international fleets, there's the trawlers, there's climate change into play, and then there's the connected crimes to IU fishing that are behind IU fishing. And we are talking about all sorts of trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking, so guns trafficking. So everything is connected. There is not only IU fishing isolated. And what we saw from this study, the research that we did, is that all of these different phenomena need a different approach. Okay, so for example, if you take a local community, like we had this year during the maritime security course, we had a representative from Ghana, which was the president of the Canoe Association from Ghana, so local fishermen. And they really depend on the stocks of fish. And of course, they have ancient fishing techniques that might need to be adapted to modern times to be less harmful to the environment or to the fish stocks. And what we feel is that if they are involved, they are happy to adapt because they need that the fish stocks to live. And what we see is that the fish stocks are reducing a lot and causing a lot of problems to that. And this brings us to the problem of the international fleets, which is a different problem because it's industrial fishing. The number of tons of fish that they can catch is is much larger than a traditional fisher, and many of them are illegal. Right.
That's an important point because EU fishing is not only related to small fishermen, but also to foreign fleets and international players that are here, and they are also contributing to the phenomenon. What role do foreign fleets and international actors play in this really global dynamic?
Look, I started my career as a Navy officer working on fisheries control, and there's so I created a really like a bond with the fishermen's community, and because they are sea people, and we respect ourselves. But then, when you go, the difference of an artisanal fisherman to which is normally a local fisherman, right? So the small boats, they cannot go. The small fishing vessels, they cannot go far away from shore, or without taking great risks. But even when they take great risks, they will never go as far as a trawler, as an industrial trawler. So the industrial trawler, when we goes in, let's say, a protected area, right? It's not only the fish; it's also the bottom of the ocean. It's the continuous presence at sea, because many of the foreign fleets, they don't need to go ashore to unload the fish. They can be refueled at sea. So it's all the intensity of that fishing act that is that's different. There's a completely different level of intensity. So and this marks the difference for me. And also when you are at sea in a coast guard, right, and you see a local fisherman, even if he's illegal, okay, there's never the amount of violence that you can find on an industrial trawler. Okay, now, if there are other related crimes inside this trawler, that can be different. So it's two completely different situations. And for me, the industrial fishery much more.
Let's go to the impact of this phenomenon on local economies. How do EU fishing affects livelihoods in coastal communities, but also national economies? Because this is a very big phenomenon, and there's also mines the GDP.
So
Is it right?
It is, because local communities are highly dependent of the fish stocks, right? So if the fishes, they have no boundaries at sea. There's not the fish that goes up to the 6 miles or the 12 miles, the fish that goes beyond the 12 miles until the 200 miles, which is the EZ, and the fish that is beyond the 200 miles. So they don't recognize these boundaries, right? So an illegal or overfished stock outside the 12 miles is the same overfished stock that will be where the local communities are. And this is not only the fishermen's, but all the families, for example, all the commerce ashore that was many times taken by the women, which would transport, take care, sell the fish. So there's all, and these people, if they lose the income from local fisheries, then they might get in situations, on very hard situations, where they reach the end of the month and they cannot put food on their tables. And this then becomes a problem for the country, and which is what then we have other reactions, other options that are less lawful than the fishing.
We appreciate the fact that a coastal country like Portugal works on this subject very seriously, and also implicating research to understand the phenomenon, give some good statistics about it, and to really to see what actions governments should implement to combat the phenomenon. For you, what are the measures that could be taken so that we can combat this phenomenon that have broader implications for many African countries? This is a phenomenon, a very big phenomenon in the Gulf of Guinea, different countries from Senegal to the Gulf of Guinea and Liberia. Many countries are suffering from this.
So one thing I think it's key. The first thing is knowledge. Okay, knowledge of the sea, and I would like to get back to this, because actually, after the research project that the Atlantic Center took, there are a concrete project, capacity building project in place that we are going to put in place, which can help many countries on this. So knowledge of our sea. What we need to know the sea where we act. Because if we can explain to the fisherman why he has to change or adapt some fishing method, he will understand, and normally he will go to that, because it's on his own interest. Okay, and the second one, much related to this one, is education. So education is key at all levels, and engaging the local communities. You have to have a top-bottom approach, but also a top-down approach, bottom-up and top-down. Otherwise, if you don't involve the local communities, you are losing knowledge, because they know a lot of their activity, and you might be implementing measures that they do not understand, that they cannot. And if you discuss if you exchange a little bit with them, maybe adapting some slight measures will bring the fishermen's community, the local communities, into the solution, and not to push back the solution. So knowledge and education, for me, they're key.
But what about the introduction of new technologies, for example, when it comes to surveillance and maritime security? A lot of these countries that I have mentioned have the possibility and the capacities to implement high techniques, good techniques, and when it comes to surveillance?
I think so.
Are they very well equipped?
The project, one of the projects that we have now is this capacity building project, is to understand, to collect some very simple data from the sea. The added value of this project, the way the Atlantic Center works, is the data, the project will be owned by São Tomé. So we are just a partner. We just want to put the engine rolling, and it's a long-lasting project. But the data, the information, will be owned by São Tomé and will create jobs in São Tomé, and it can be easily replicated to other Gulf of Guinea countries. Now, MDA, so maritime domain awareness, to know what's happening at the sea, of course, it's key. It is very important. But we have to understand that this MDA must come also with the capacity to act at sea. Because otherwise, what's happening is,
what's happening, but you don't have.
But you don't have the resources to. You don't have the resources to intervene. So, and again, we cannot forget the local communities of fishermen, because they have a permanent presence at sea. So they can be like a first line of alert, which is important. So sometimes it's not the high-end, high-tech solution that looks very sexy that might be the most adequate or easy to implement. There are other solutions that might be on a first stage easier or more, how can I say it, more efficient in a first stage. Then you have to build the capacity, which takes time, takes investment. You have to raise awareness of the sea. You have to have you must need the education to understand the potential of the sea, what the fisheries can give to, for example, the youth. What kind of jobs can come from that? Okay, and then there's the state action at sea, which is more difficult. The further you go away from the shore, the more difficult that action is.
And this implicates also like global actors like Russia, France, many European countries, also from other countries who are also contributing in this phenomenon. When you are talking necessarily about the unreported and unregulated fishing,
yes,
so there is also the implication of foreign actors in those, in those areas.
Of course, we know, and the actors are identified, and they come a little bit from, and it's not only a phenomenon for the African countries or West African countries. For example, Argentina, they suffer a lot, and they call it the 201 miles mark, because the international fleets are not going inside the EZ, but they are exclusive zones. They are on the border, but they still feel the effect, because there's a huge reduction on the fish stocks.
Thank you very much for your insights. It was a pleasure to hear from you, and also to hear about your work at the Atlantic Center when it comes to maritime security. Luis, it was a pleasure to interview you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dear audience, thank you very much for following us in this episode, and see you soon.